It started off as a job, just a gig. One of those things you take because the rent's late, your fridge is half empty, and you've already eaten through your savings, chasing some dream that's always just out of reach. I didn't expect it to change my life. River Hill wasn't a superstar yet when I met him, but he was close. A few million followers online, a couple of catchy breakup songs on the charts, and a face that made teenage girls lose their minds. His manager reached out to me through my tiny agency, said River needed help elevating his writing. What they really meant was they needed someone to write about love like it hurt. That's where I came in. I've always written best when I'm invisible. It's easier that way. No pressure to perform, no stage lights or screaming fans. Just me, a piano, a notebook full of lines I'll probably never say out loud, and enough sadness to fill 3 albums. We met in a dimly lit rehearsal space near Venice Beach. River walked in wearing sunglasses, even though it was cloudy outside. His guitar slung across his back like he was born with it. He was taller than I expected, quieter too. "You Wes?" he asked, pulling his hoodie down. His voice was hoarse, like he hadn't slept. "Yeah," I said. "You're the one who needs help sounding heartbroken." He gave a small laugh. "Guess I am." We didn't click right away. The first session was stiff, filled with awkward silences and half-formed ideas. I asked him questions, trying to dig under the surface. Who was she? What did she do? How did it end? But he kept it vague. Like if he admitted too much, it'd make it real again. I went home that night and wrote the chorus on my own. 2 days later, he texted me. "That hook's insane. Let's build on it." That was the beginning. We started meeting 3 times a week. Then 4. Then it just became whenever he had an idea or needed someone to bounce things off. He'd bring scraps of melodies, sometimes whole verses scribbled in his notes app at 2 a.m., and I'd shape them into something cleaner, tighter, deeper. I was the scalpel to his raw nerve. The weird part? The more time we spent together, the easier it got to write for him. Like I could hear his voice in my head before he even said anything. I'd catch myself watching him too closely when he played, noticing how he'd close his eyes on certain chords or bite the inside of his cheek when a lyric hit too hard. At some point, it stopped feeling like work. He started asking about me, my past, who I'd been in love with, what kind of music I listened to when I couldn't sleep. I didn't give him the full truth, just enough to keep him curious. Then one day, I walked into the studio and he was already at the piano, playing something I didn't recognize. His eyes flicked up when I entered, but he didn't stop. The melody was slow, a little haunting. "I wrote something," he said. "Tell me if it sucks." I sat down across from him, notebook in hand, expecting the usual. But the lyrics, they weren't about a girl. They were about someone quiet, someone who listened too well, someone who disappeared behind their own words, someone who saw him. I didn't say anything right away. I just stared at the page, then up at him. He gave me this small, nervous smile. "Is it too obvious?" he asked. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out, because in that moment, I wasn't sure who the song was for anymore. I told myself it didn't mean anything. Artists write about whatever's in front of them, right? Sometimes it's the girl who broke their heart. Sometimes it's the barista with a nice smile. Sometimes it's the guy who helps them turn messy thoughts into clean verses. That didn't make it personal. Except it was personal. The lyrics weren't just general. They were specific in a way that hit too close. He sang about my hoodie, the one I always wore on writing days. The way I cracked my knuckles when I was stuck. The dumb stuff I said when I thought no one was really listening. He hadn't even asked to write about me, he just did. After the session, I hung back longer than usual, pretending to organize my bag while he packed up his guitar. My stomach was twisted up, heart kicking like it was trying to get out. "Good session," I said, because I didn't know what else to say. "Yeah." He hesitated. "Wes, was that weird?" I looked at him. Really looked. He wasn't joking. He wasn't fishing for compliments. His voice had that edge. Soft, unsure, Way too rare for someone who could command an entire crowd with a smile and a strum. You mean the song? He nodded slowly, eyes searching mine. Yeah, I mean, I know it's not the usual. She broke my heart in July, now I cry in the rain kind of thing. I snorted. You do write a lot of weather-based metaphors. Guilty, he grinned. Then it faded. But this one felt different. You said that like I didn't notice it was about me. River rubbed the back of his neck. Was it that obvious? Man, you literally described the way I take my coffee. His ears went a little pink. That was new. I'd seen him smirk, flirt, play it cool in front of cameras, even fake shout at a producer during a delay, but I'd never seen that. I wasn't trying to make things weird, he said quickly. I don't know, it came out, and it felt true. I didn't want to fake it anymore. Fake what? He opened his mouth, closed it again, looked at me like he wanted to say something big, but didn't know how to make it fit into words, like the song was easier than a sentence. It's fine, I said finally, grabbing my bag. Honestly, if it's what you're feeling, you should write it. He didn't stop me as I left, and I told myself it didn't matter. But that night, I couldn't write a single damn thing. My screen stayed blank while I laid in bed. Headphones on, River's demo on repeat like I was trying to decode it. My hand hovered over the keyboard for hours, but the words refused to come. They all felt fake next to his. This was the problem, I realized. Ghostwriters don't get written about. That's the deal. You disappear into someone else's story. You don't become the story. But now I was. The next week, something shifted. River was more focused, more driven than I'd seen him in months. He came in with full verses ready, melodies sketched out, and they were good. Better than usual. There was this rawness to them, like he wasn't hiding behind metaphors anymore. But the lyrics kept circling back to the same subject. Me. Or someone a lot like me. And every time he sang them, he looked at me like he was waiting for something. Waiting for me to pull him back, tell him it was too much, remind him who I was to him. A hired pen, not a muse. I didn't. I just kept helping him shape the songs. Because deep down, I liked hearing the way he saw me. Liked feeling visible. Even if no one else would know the truth. That illusion broke when his manager called me in for a meeting. It was a Tuesday afternoon, hot and stale, the kind of LA day that made you wish Windows still meant something. So, Jenna said, tapping her nails on the desk. River's latest stuff, different direction, huh? I kept my expression neutral. Yeah, he's been more hands-on lately. She smirked. Hands-on is one word for it. He played me something yesterday, Coffee Breath and Cardigans, or whatever it's called, and I swear to God, I thought it was a confession. I said nothing. I don't care what he does in his personal life, she went on, but this sound, this vulnerability, it's gold. We're already storyboarding the visuals. We want to make this his big crossover. To what exactly? Jenna leaned back in her chair. To real artistry. Not just TikTok hooks. Depth. Story. Emotion. Fans eat that shit up. She paused, watching me closely. You're a big part of that, Wes. Because I wrote it? No. Her smile sharpened. Because he wrote it about you. And it shows. My mouth went dry. We won't say anything publicly, obviously. But whatever's going on between you two, she said, her tone light but loaded. Don't screw it up. It's working. I left Jenna's office with my head buzzing louder than LA traffic. It's working, she'd said. Like this whole thing. Whatever it was a carefully measured strategy. But nothing about it felt calculated from my side. River wasn't doing this for publicity. That wasn't the guy I'd been writing with for the past 3 months. But now I couldn't stop wondering if maybe I'd let it all get blurry. I didn't go to the studio the next day. Or the day after. I needed space. Time to sort out what was real. And what was just the illusion of late-night lyrics and dim lights and shared creative energy. I didn't answer his texts, even though they were piling up. You good? Got this new chorus I want you to hear. I know I made it weird. Can we talk? I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't trust myself not to say something I'd regret. By Friday, he showed up at my apartment. I was mid-bite of a microwave burrito when the knock came. I froze, mouth still half full, heart already anticipating it was him. No one else in my life would just show up like that. And that was the problem. I opened the door, he looked tired. Not the kind of tired that comes from too many late nights, but the kind that settles into your posture when someone you care about is slipping away. "You've been ignoring me," he said. I leaned on the door frame, keeping my tone neutral. Didn't mean to, just needed a break. "From me?" "From everything." River looked down, jaw tight. "I'm sorry if I crossed a line. With the song, with the lyrics. I didn't mean to put you in a weird spot." I shrugged. "It's not about the song." "Then what?" I took a deep breath and stepped aside, letting him in. He walked into my tiny living room and sat on the edge of the couch, hands clasped between his knees. "You're not supposed to write about the guy behind the curtain," I said quietly, dropping into the chair across from him. "I wasn't trying to turn you into a character." "Then what were you doing, River?" He looked at me for a long moment, eyes unreadable. "I was writing what was true." That hit harder than I wanted it to. "People are talking," I said. "Your manager basically told me to keep doing whatever this is because it's good for your image." He scoffed. "Jenna thinks breathing is a PR move. Screw what she thinks." "You don't think this is a bad idea?" I asked. "That if you start singing love songs about a guy, the industry's gonna label you, put you in a box, turn you into a type instead of an artist?" "I'd rather be honest than generic," he said, and his voice was firmer now. "And I'd rather write songs that feel like you than churn out another fake heartbreak anthem for people I don't even remember." I blinked. He stood, walked slowly over to where I sat, and crouched down in front of me. "Wes," he said, softer now, "you made me sound real for the first time. But you also made me feel real, and I don't want to pretend it's just about the music anymore." My chest was a mess of nerves and hope and panic. "You don't even know what you're saying." "Yes, I do." His voice dropped. "And I think you've known how I feel for a while, too. You just keep pretending you don't." I didn't answer. Couldn't. He was too close to there. All the distance I'd put between us collapsing in a heartbeat. "You want to know the truth?" he whispered. "The songs weren't just about you. They were for you." My heart was thudding so hard I thought he could hear it. "But if this isn't what you want," he said, standing up slowly, "I'll stop. I'll go back to writing about strangers in empty rooms. I'll let you be the ghost again." He moved to the door, hand on the knob, and that's when I heard myself say, "Don't." He paused, turned back. "I'm tired of disappearing," I said. "And if this, whatever this is real, then maybe I want to be seen for once." River's eyes softened, and without saying a word, he stepped back inside and closed the door behind him. We didn't kiss that night. Maybe that's what made it real. Because there was a moment, an easy one, where he was standing right in front of me, the door shut behind him, the space between us barely a breath. I could see the way his chest rose and fell, the slight tremor in his fingers. We were both suspended in something that felt heavy and new, but we didn't move. We just sat. He dropped onto the couch again, legs slightly spread, elbows on his knees, and I mirrored him from across the room like we were still negotiating the edge of a verse. Except this time, the silence wasn't about lyrics. "I didn't mean to make things hard for you," River said after a while. "You didn't," I replied. "I think I just made it hard for myself." He glanced over. "You've always seemed like you keep a lot in." "That's kind of the job description," I said, trying to keep it light. "Ghostwriters don't really do expression." "Yeah, but you do," he said. "You just do it for other people." I exhaled slowly. He wasn't wrong. For years, I'd been the invisible architect of other people's heartbreaks. Their longing. Their big, sweeping declarations. I knew exactly how to build a song that made a crowd cry. But I didn't know how to say I miss you without hiding it behind a metaphor. River changed that. He didn't just sing what I wrote. He listened. He let the work shape him, and in turn, it shaped me. "You remember that first song we worked on?" he asked suddenly. I nodded. "The one about the girl in the red coat?" "Yeah." He laughed quietly. "There was no girl." "What?" "I made her up. The coat, the story, the rain, all of it. I didn't even know what heartbreak was supposed to feel like. I just knew that's what everyone expected from me." I blinked. "You lied?" He smiled sheepishly. "I tried to be someone people would believe." That hit a nerve I didn't expect. Because deep down, I'd done the same thing. Written lyrics that made me sound braver or sadder or more desirable than I really was. All of us faking something, hoping someone would see through it. "I didn't know who I was until I started writing with you," he said, his voice softer now. "You didn't just help me sound better. You helped me feel better." I looked at him, really looked, and saw it. Not the river from the videos, not the guy fans swooned over, just a kid in a borrowed hoodie, scared and sincere, and more transparent than anyone gave him credit for. "What if this ruins things?" I asked. "The music, the work." He leaned back, hands running through his hair. "Then it ruins them," he said. "But at least I'll know I wasn't pretending." And there it was again. That quiet certainty, the kind that made him impossible to dismiss. He wasn't trying to convince me. He was just telling the truth and waiting to see if I could do the same. We stayed like that until almost 2 a.m., saying more with glances than words. And when he finally stood to leave, he didn't try to push anything. He just said, "Come back to the studio next week. I've got something I want to show you." Then he was gone. I didn't sleep that night. My brain was a pinball machine, bouncing between memory and possibility, past restraint and future risk. But under all of it was a strange calm, like I'd been holding my breath for months and finally let a little air in. When I walked into the studio on Tuesday, River was already inside, alone. Guitar in his lap, headphones around his neck. He didn't say anything right away, just nodded toward the stool across from him. I sat, he strummed a few chords, slow, mellow, deliberate. Then he started singing. Not a demo, not a draft, a song. For me, it didn't even try to hide it. There were no fake names, no veiled imagery, just lines like, "You sit in the corner making magic out of silence, / but I hear you louder than the rest of the room. You built the words I couldn't find, then handed them back like they weren't yours. You said you're tired of disappearing, / well, I've been waiting for you to show up." And I did. Right then. Right there. I showed up. When the last note faded, he looked at me, hesitant but open. I stood up, walked over, and finally, I kissed him. There was nothing big or cinematic about it. No swelling strings, no flashbulbs. Just warmth, breath, relief. The kind of kiss that says, "I see you now. I'm not looking away." We didn't speak for a while after. We didn't need to. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't writing for someone else's story. I was living mine. After that night, everything felt different. Not loud or dramatic, just quieter, easier. Like we'd both stepped into a version of ourselves that had been there the whole time, just waiting for the right moment to show up. River and I didn't announce anything. There was no official conversation, no defining the relationship over lunch or texting each other, "So what are we?" at 2 a.m. It just was. I started spending more time at his place, and he started stealing more of my hoodies. We'd write in the morning, nap in the afternoon, and eat takeout off the same plate like we'd always done that. It was simple and kind of perfect, but it couldn't stay quiet forever. Not when the label caught wind of how personal the new EP was sounding. Not when River, despite his best efforts, couldn't hide the way he looked at me during sessions, or the way some of his lyrics started slipping from ambiguous to very, very specific. It came to a head during a listening party the label threw at a downtown venue. It was industry only, invite only, and I hadn't even planned to go. But River had insisted. "I want you there," he'd said. "It's our work." So I went. I wore the one shirt I didn't hate and tried to blend into the background as usual. But about halfway through the second song, I felt Jenna's eyes on me from across the room. She made her way over, champagne flute in hand, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You must be proud," she said, voice smooth. I nodded once. "He sounds great." "He does." She took a sip. "And the songs? Some of the best he's ever recorded." I waited. There was more coming. There always was with her. "You know we're prepping the rollout, right?" she asked. "PR, media, appearances. This EP is going to blow him up in a different way." "That's the idea, isn't it?" Her eyes sharpened. "It is. Which is why I need to ask you something." Here it came. "Are you two together?" I blinked. "Why would you ask that?" "Because everyone in this room can see it." She tilted her head slightly, not accusatory, just practical. Like she was scanning for fire hazards in a building. "I'm not here to get in the way," she added quickly. "But you need to understand what this means. River coming out, if that's what this is, it'll change everything. Fans, sponsors, platforms. Not everyone will be thrilled." "I know. Do you know," she asked, "how many artists we've had to bury after one wrong post, one misunderstood lyric?" I didn't say anything. Jenna sighed and softened just a touch. "I'm not trying to scare you, but if you care about him, and I think you do, then you'll be careful." That stuck with me for the rest of the night. Even as River played a stripped-down version of the title track, Ghostwrote, with his eyes locked on me in the crowd, even as people clapped like they knew it was something special, I felt that pressure hanging in the air. Because she wasn't wrong. Visibility comes with cost. And while I'd been hiding behind lyrics for years, River was stepping out from behind his entirely. After the party, we sat on the roof of his building with 2 beers and a blanket between us. He was unusually quiet. "Everything okay?" I asked. He nodded, then paused. "I think I want to tell people," my heart picked up. "You sure?" "I'm tired of being marketable. I'd rather be honest." I searched his face. He looked steady, not naive, just done pretending. "But only if you're okay with it," he added. "Me?" He turned to me. "If this gets out, people will want to know who the songs are about, who I've been writing with, who I've been," he stopped, "with." It was strange how something so personal could also be so public. "I'm not ashamed," I said, "of you, of us. But I like being unknown, being invisible." "I know." We sat in silence for a moment, the city lights stretching out around us like a second sky. "Maybe we don't need to do anything big," he said. "Just let the music speak." I looked at him. "It already does." He smiled, then leaned over and kissed me. Soft, unhurried, like we had all the time in the world. And maybe we did. The EP dropped on a Thursday. No lead single, no teaser posts, no flashy announcement. Just a link, a black and white cover photo of River looking directly into the lens, and a caption that said, "These are the truest songs I've ever written." By noon, the internet was in full dissection mode. Fans lost their minds. Reactions ranged from teary TikToks to Twitter threads analyzing every lyric. Some noticed the tonal shift immediately. Less heartbreak fantasy, more intimacy. A few pointed out the absence of female pronouns in the songs. Others, the recurring presence of he in the chorus of track 4, unwritten name. The DMs started rolling in not long after, people I hadn't heard from in years. "Did you write that one?" "Wes, tell me that bridge wasn't about you." "Did he just come out in a song and soft launch your relationship?" I didn't reply to any of them. Meanwhile, River's socials exploded, not because he posted anything controversial, but because of what he didn't say. No homo disclaimers. No denial. Just letting the music speak for itself. And somehow, that silence was louder than anything else. By the weekend, things escalated. A few minor music blogs posted think pieces. One article titled, "River Hale's new EP might be his softest and queerest yet," started gaining traction. Another called it an unexpectedly vulnerable pivot for an artist previously known for broad appeal. The comments, as always, were split. Some people loved it, said they'd never connected to him more, that the lyrics finally sounded like they came from a real place. Others, not so much. He started getting tagged in threads about agenda pushing and betraying the fan base. There were unfollows, unsubscribes, the usual noise. I watched it all happen from the safety of my apartment, scrolling through reactions like I was reading someone else's story. But I knew, deep down, that I wasn't just a witness to this. I was part of it. We both were. On Sunday, River came over unannounced. No call. Just the sound of his knock, same rhythm he always used, 3 quick taps, then one softer one like he was trying not to wake a sleeping animal. I opened the door. He looked tired, but calm. "Can I come in?" "Always." He stepped inside, slipped off his shoes like he lived there, and flopped onto my couch without a word. I joined him. For a few minutes, we just sat in silence. Then he said, "I think this is the first time I've made something that feels like mine." I looked at him. Even with all the noise, especially because of it. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and handed it to me. On the screen was a screenshot of a comment. "I've been listening to River Hale for years and never felt like his songs were about someone like me. Until now. Thank you." I handed it back without saying anything. "I'm not trying to be a role model," River said. "I just don't want to lie anymore." "You didn't," I replied. "The songs were honest. The rest of the world's just catching up." He turned to me. "I know it's been weird. Jen is losing her mind. The label wants to pivot the marketing, and suddenly I'm being asked if I'm comfortable on magazine covers with headlines like, 'River's Quiet Revelation.'" I raised an eyebrow. "You comfortable with that?" "I'm comfortable with you. That shut me up." He leaned over, resting his head on my shoulder. "I don't know what happens next," he murmured, "but I know I don't want to go back." We sat like that for a long time. The sun dipped low outside the window, painting the room in gold. His breathing slowed, his body relaxed. And in that stillness, I realized something I hadn't said out loud yet. Not to him, not even to myself. I wasn't afraid anymore. Not of being visible, not of being written about, not even of being known. Because for the first time in years, the story was finally mine too. A few weeks later, River got invited to play a stripped-down acoustic set for a live-streamed radio session. It was one of those intimate, close mic setups. No big lights, no crowd, just a few mics, a stool, and a quiet room with a couple of cameras. He asked me to go with him. "I don't have to be on camera or anything, right?" I asked. "No," he grinned. "Just want you there, behind the scenes, like always." I agreed, mostly because I liked watching him in his element. Writing with River was one thing, but seeing him perform, that was something else. When he played live, it was like he forgot anyone was watching. He'd lose himself in the chords, in the lyrics, like he was singing only for one person. And sometimes, maybe more often than I was willing to admit, that person felt like me. That day, the set was quiet, stripped bare. He opened with one of the early hits, just to warm up the room, then eased into the newer stuff. But when the last song came, I recognized it immediately. It wasn't on the EP, it wasn't even something we'd officially finished. It was ours. A late-night demo we recorded half asleep, still in sweatpants, eating leftover pizza between takes. A song he swore was too soft, too personal, too much about me. And now here he was, playing it live. My heart thudded harder with each line. It wasn't just that the lyrics gave it away, though they did. It was the way he looked straight into the camera on the final verse, and sang like he meant every word. "I wrote you in pencil, afraid to make marks, but you stayed when I smudged all my lines in the dark." My throat tightened. "You found me in silence and gave me a name/so I ghostwrote your love songs and sang them the same." The room was still when he finished. No applause, just the soft buzz of recording equipment and the gentle exhale of the sound tech. Then he looked over at me and smiled. Afterward, we walked out into the parking lot together. It was late. The sky had that soft gray tint it gets before dawn. He slid his hand into mine without asking. "I've been thinking," he said quietly. "Maybe it's time we stop hiding in songs." I looked over, surprised. "You want to go public?" "Not in a press release kind of way," he said. "But I don't want to keep pretending you're just my writer. You're more than that. You always have been." I let that sink in for a second. "You sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." I squeezed his hand. "Then yeah, let's stop hiding." The response was surprisingly chill. He posted a candid photo of us on his story a few days later. Just me, mid-laugh, sitting at the piano, his arm casually draped across my shoulders. No caption, no explanation. But people got it. Some fans freaked out, in a good way. Some sent angry DMs, but fewer than we expected. And most just kept listening, streaming the music, sharing the lyrics, using his songs in their own messy, beautiful stories. Because it turns out, love is love, even when it starts in the background, behind the curtain, written in someone else's voice. That fall, we played our first show together. I stood just off stage, not performing, not even plugged into the soundboard, just there. And River sang a full set, not flinching when the love songs leaned male, not blinking when a few people left mid-show, because more stayed. And when he closed with the new track, our track, he introduced it like this. "This one's about the guy who taught me how to tell the truth. He's standing over there pretending not to exist, but I wouldn't be here without him." The crowd erupted. And me? I didn't hide. For once, I let myself be seen. A year later, I was standing backstage at the Soundline Awards watching River walk toward the biggest stage of his career. He was up for Song of the Year. For our song. Technically, the credit went to him. It always had. That was the deal. My name didn't appear in the liner notes. There was no public co-writing credit, no little Grammy submission blur next to my name. I stayed behind the curtain, like always. Except not really, because everyone in the industry already knew. He never called me out by name, never gave some emotional speech about his partner, but the stories had gotten out anyway. Quiet interviews. Subtext in lyrics. That photo of us walking out of a late-night diner, holding hands, unbothered by the camera flashes. By now, anyone paying attention knew who I was to him. And for the first time in my life, I didn't mind being seen. The auditorium was packed. Industry types in velvet jackets and perfect makeup, managers whispering to clients, fans screaming from the nosebleeds. And River looked completely calm. His hair was a little longer now, tucked behind one ear. His suit was black, tailored, classic. He didn't wear anything flashy. He never needed to. I watched from the wings as they read the nominees. I'd heard the other songs. Some were massive, pop anthems with dance remixes. Others were gritty and cool, the kind of music critics love to fawn over. Then they said it, and the Song of the Year goes to Ghostwrote by Riverhale. Applause erupted. River stood, accepted the hug from his manager, and walked slowly to the stage. He didn't look at me. Not yet. He took the mic with one hand, held the award in the other, and then, with a smile that made my chest tighten, he began. "Thanks. This means a lot. I know people say that every time they win something, but yeah, this one's different." He paused. This song came from a place I wasn't ready to share at first. It was about someone who saw me before I saw myself. Someone who took all the pieces of who I was and put them into words when I couldn't. I exhaled, slowly. "I used to sing about heartbreak like it was something abstract," he continued. "Then I met someone who made me want to sing about honesty, about wanting, about being brave enough to stay. And then," he looked directly at me, "in front of the cameras, in front of everyone. Wherever you are tonight, thank you. This song's for you. It's always been for you." I felt the entire room tilt for a second, like something had shifted and landed exactly where it was supposed to. The standing ovation started slow, then built, but I didn't hear most of it. Because in that moment, all I could think about was the first night we met in that dusty studio. Just a job, Just a gig, just some quiet guy who knew how to bleed on paper. And now here we were. No more hiding, no more ghostwriting, just the truth, finally sung out loud. River found me outside the venue half an hour later. He didn't say anything at first, just held out the award. For the guy who wrote the first line. I took it, smiling. And for the guy who gave it a voice, I said. He stepped closer, pulled me into him. I love you, he said quietly. I rested my forehead against his. I know, I whispered. I wrote it first.